A peaceful day of filming on Roloff Farms shattered. Production brought to a screeching halt. The idyllic image of the beloved family farm broken by chaos. Security was called to the set, not for a fan, not for a mishap, but for an incident that has reportedly sent shockwaves through the entire cast and crew of Little People, Big World. An incident involving Amy Roloff's husband, Chris Marek. What we are hearing is that a heated argument between Chris and a senior producer escalated into a physical shoving match. Production was shut down for an entire day as TLC executives scrambled to handle the fallout. The silence from the network and the family has been deafening. But behind that silence, a story is brewing. A story of pressure, secrets, and a confrontation that may have been deliberately engineered for drama. We've been digging, talking to sources, and connecting the dots that others have missed. And tonight, we're going to peel back the layers of this story. This wasn't just a simple fight. This was a boiling point. The question is, what or who lit the fuse? We are about to dive into one of the biggest behind-the-scenes scandals to ever hit the Roloff family. Before we expose the explosive details and the exclusive theories surrounding this confrontation, I need you to do one thing. If you believe in getting to the truth and you want to support a channel that goes deeper than anyone else, then hit that like button right now. And if you're not already subscribed, click that subscribe button and ring the bell. You are not going to want to miss a single update on this developing story, and our deep dives are where you'll find the real narrative. Thank you for your support. Now, let's get into it. Part 1, the anatomy of a meltdown. All right, let's start with the core report. What exactly is the rumor that's being whispered about by people connected to the show? To understand the gravity of the situation, we need to break down the scene as it has been described to us by unconfirmed insider sources. The scene is a typical filming day. The crew is setting up for what is known as an interview segment or a confessional. This is where the cast members sit down one-on-one and speak directly to a producer who is off camera. These sessions are the backbone of the show's narrative. They are where the producers guide the cast, ask probing questions, and get the sound bites that shape the entire season. Chris Marek is in the hot seat. The producer, who we're told is a veteran on the show and known for being particularly persistent, begins the questioning. According to our sources, the interview starts normally. Questions about a recent family event, his relationship with Amy, his thoughts on the farm, standard stuff. But then the tone allegedly shifts. The producer begins to pivot. The questions become less about family and more about finances. And not just general finances, we are told these were deeply personal, invasive questions. Questions about Chris's personal net worth, his real estate business profits, his savings, his financial arrangements with Amy. Imagine being in that chair. You're there to talk about your life as part of a reality show, but suddenly you feel like you're in a financial audit. Chris, who has always been portrayed as a more private person than the Roloffs, reportedly became visibly uncomfortable. He tried to deflect, to steer the conversation back to safer ground. But the producer, according to the report, wouldn't let it go. They prodded, they poked, they rephrased the questions, cornering him. The report states that Chris felt he was being set up, that these questions were not for the show, but were a personal attack. He allegedly asked the producer to stop, stating the topic was off limits. The producer, perhaps chasing a dramatic moment for the camera, pushed one more time. And that's when it happened. Chris supposedly stood up, furious. Words were exchanged. Voices were raised, the argument became heated, and it culminated in Chris allegedly shoving the producer. Not a gentle push, a forceful shove born of pure anger and frustration. The entire set went silent. The crew was stunned. The producer was shocked. Within minutes, the chain of command was activated. Filming was immediately canceled. Higher-up executives were called. And eventually, security was brought in to de-escalate the situation and ensure no further contact was made. Production was wrapped for the day, and we're told it cost the network tens of thousands of dollars in lost time and resources. Now, TLC has a zero-tolerance policy for physical altercations on set. This is not just drama. This is a potential breach of contract, a fireable offense. So the silence from the network isn't surprising. They are in damage control mode. But this official narrative, or the rumor of it, only tells us what happened. It doesn't tell us why. And the why is where this story transforms from a simple on-set fight into a complex web of motives, pressure, and potential conspiracy. We're going to explore 4 key theories, and each one is more shocking than the last. Theory number 1, the farm sale pressure cooker. Our first and perhaps most obvious theory centers on the one thing that has dominated this family for years, the fate of Roloff Farms. Let's be clear, the drama surrounding the farm sale is the primary engine of this show right now. Matt's decision not to sell to his sons, Zach and Jeremy, created a schism in the family. His subsequent decision to put a portion of it up for public sale and then turn it into a rental has been a source of immense tension. Amy, having sold her portion to Matt, has tried to distance herself, but she is emotionally tied to that land forever. And Chris, by marrying Amy, married into this complex multi-million-dollar drama. So let's connect those dots. Why would a producer be drilling Chris about his personal finances? Theory number 1 is that the producers were trying to manufacture a new, explosive storyline. Chris and Amy buy back the farm. Think about it. The show needs a new direction. The kids are moving on. The drama between Matt and Zach has cooled to a quiet resentment. What would be the ultimate twist? Amy, the matriarch, swooping in with her new husband to reclaim a piece of her legacy from Matt. It's pure primetime gold. But for that storyline to be viable, they need to establish the financial possibility. The producer wasn't just being nosy. We theorized they were on a mission to get Chris Marek on camera talking about his money. They needed a soundbite, something like, "Yes, I'm successful. If Amy wanted to, we could consider making Matt an offer." Chris is a successful real estate agent. He's been in the business for decades. He has money, but we don't know how much money. The producers don't know. The audience doesn't know. Forcing that information out of him would be a game changer for the show's narrative direction. So in this theory, the shoving match wasn't just about privacy. It was about Chris realizing he was being used as a pawn in a high-stakes, pre-scripted storyline that he wanted no part of. He was being asked to expose his entire financial life to fuel a plotline that would put him in direct conflict with Matt Roloff and potentially strain his marriage with Amy. The questions wouldn't have felt like an interview. They would have felt like a trap. The producer's prodding wasn't just poor journalism. It was a calculated attempt to corner him into a narrative. And Chris, seeing the chessboard and his role as a sacrificial piece, lashed out. He wasn't just defending his privacy, he was defending himself from being the next central conflict in the Roloff family saga. Theory number 2, digging for skeletons. But what if the questions about Chris's finances weren't about the future? What if they were about the past? This brings us to our second and far more personal theory. The producers weren't building a new story. They were digging for an old one. Chris Marek entered the world of Little People, Big World as an outsider. For over a decade, the show's universe revolved around the Roloff family nucleus. Chris was a new variable. And while he has been a steady, calming presence for Amy, we, the audience, know very little about his life before he met her. He was a bachelor for 50 plus years. He built a career. He had a life. a life that is largely a black box to the viewers and perhaps even to the producers. Reality show producers are relentless. When a show has been on the air for as long as LPBW has, they face a constant problem: story fatigue. They need new angles, new conflicts, new secrets to keep the audience engaged. Could it be that the producers, in a bid to spice things up, had decided to make the secret life of Chris Marek a central theme of the new season? This is where the financial questions take on a much more sinister tone. Were they asking about his finances because they were looking for something? A past business deal gone wrong, a lawsuit, a hidden debt, a controversial investment? In the world of reality TV, a hidden skeleton in the closet is a ratings jackpot. In this scenario, the producers' questions weren't about buying the farm. They were on a fishing expedition. Imagine the questions. Chris, have you ever had to declare bankruptcy? Have you ever been sued by a client? Are all of your past business partnerships in good standing? These aren't questions about a future storyline. These are questions designed to uncover a past scandal. If Chris has a completely clean record, he would still feel attacked and interrogated. But if there is something in his past, even something minor that has long been resolved, a question like that would feel like a direct threat. It would feel like blackmail. The producer's persistence would no longer seem like they were just trying to get a good clip. It would seem like they knew something or were pretending to in order to provoke a reaction. The shove in this context becomes an act of desperation, an attempt to shut down a line of inquiry that was getting too close to a nerve that Chris has kept hidden from the public eye for years. This theory suggests the conflict was far more personal. It wasn't about a TV show plot. It was about protecting his own history and reputation from a production team willing to dredge up anything for the sake of a dramatic reveal. Theory number 3, exposing a marital rift. Our first two theories place Chris in opposition to the show's producers or the farm's legacy. But our third theory is perhaps the most intimate and potentially the most damaging. What if the fight wasn't about the farm or Chris's past, but about his present, specifically his marriage to Amy? This theory posits that the producers' questions were strategically designed to expose or create financial tension between Chris and Amy. Money is a leading cause of stress in any marriage. And while Chris and Amy appear to be a happy, stable couple, they come from very different financial backgrounds and realities. Amy was part of a family business, her income tied to a farm and a television show for decades. Her financial life has been semi-public. Chris, on the other hand, is a self-made man from the private sector. They had to merge two fully formed adult lives and financial histories. That process is never without its bumps. The producers know this. They know that a storyline about marital strife sells. We've seen them explore this territory with Matt and Amy for years. With them divorced, are they looking for a new couple to put under the microscope? Let's re-examine the producers' questions through this lens. Chris, do you and Amy keep your finances separate? Who pays for the vacations? Who pays the mortgage? Do you ever feel that your financial contribution is unequal to Amy's? Does Amy ask you for financial support for her kids? These questions are pure poison. They are designed to do one thing: create a wedge. If Chris answers honestly, his words could easily be edited and twisted to sound like there is resentment or conflict. If he refuses to answer, it creates suspicion. It looks like they have something to hide. In this theory, Chris's explosion wasn't just about his own privacy. It was about protecting his marriage. He saw the producer laying a sophisticated trap, not just for him, but for Amy as well. They were trying to manufacture a Chris versus Amy the money fights season. He knew that any answer he gave could be used to hurt his wife and undermine their relationship on national television. The shove, then, was a protective gesture. He was drawing a line in the sand, a line that said, you can come after me, you can ask about my life, but you will not use me to create a false narrative that hurts my wife. It was a husband defending his marriage from what he perceived as a malicious attack by his own employers. This theory adds a layer of nobility to Chris's actions, but it also paints a very dark picture of the producer's tactics. It suggests they were willing to destabilize a marriage for the sake of ratings. And if that's true, it begs the question, how far are they willing to go? Theory number 4, the grand conspiracy and engineered event. We've looked at the farm, we've looked at Chris's past, we've looked at his marriage, but all of those theories assume one thing, that Chris's reaction was a surprise, that the shoving match was an unforeseen event that sent the production into chaos. Our fourth and final theory challenges that assumption. It's the most unsettling of all, but in the cutthroat world of reality television, it might be the most plausible. What if the entire confrontation was engineered? What if the producer was instructed to push Chris until he broke? What if the shove wasn't the problem? What if it was the entire point? This is the engineered event theory. Let's look at the state of Little People, Big World. The original stars, Matt and Amy, are divorced and in new relationships. The kids who grew up on screen are now adults with their own lives, and some, like Jeremy and Audrey, have left the show entirely. Zach and Tori have moved away, limiting their interaction with the rest of the family. The show is running out of authentic, organic conflict. Producers are facing immense pressure from the network to keep the ratings up. So what do? They create conflict. In this theory, a decision was made at a high level. They needed a bombshell for the new season. They identified Chris Marek as the perfect target. He's private, which means pushing his buttons is more likely to get a reaction. He's an in-law, not a blood roll-off, making him slightly more expendable. He has a sensitive spot, his finances and his independence. So the veteran producer wasn't just persistent, they were following a script. Their job that day was to provoke Chris Marek to the breaking point. While the cameras were rolling, they needed him to explode. They needed the fight. They needed the drama of security being called. Think about the storyline this creates. It's magnificent from a producer's point of view. First, you have the incident itself, the shocking fight. Then you have the fallout. Will Chris be fired from the show? Will Amy have to choose between her husband and her career? Then you have the family division, Matt's reaction. Will he defend the show that made him a millionaire? Or will he surprisingly side with Chris? How will Zach and Tori, who have their own issues with the production, react? It creates an entire season's worth of A plots and B plots. The Chris Marek crisis. The production shutdown wasn't a sign of chaos. It was part of the plan. It adds legitimacy to the event. It makes it feel real and serious. They leaked the story to channels like ours to build buzz and anticipation for the season. In this scenario, Chris and the producer weren't just two people in a fight. They were actors in a play they didn't even know they were in. Chris was the unwitting star, and the producer was the catalyst, sacrificing their own short-term comfort for the good of the show. The shove wasn't a moment that derailed the season. It was the moment that made the season. This is a chilling thought. It reframes the entire operation of a show we've watched for years, suggesting it's not a window into a family's life, but a heavily manipulated drama factory where real people's emotions are the raw materials. So there you have it. 4 distinct theories, each painting a different picture of what happened on that set. Theory number 1, Chris was resisting being forced into a buy back the farm storyline, a plot that would benefit the show but throw his life into turmoil. Theory number 2, Chris was reacting to a witch hunt, an attempt by producers to dig up dirt on his past to create a scandal. Theory number 3, Chris was a husband protecting his marriage from a calculated attempt to manufacture financial conflict between him and Amy. And theory number 4, Chris was the victim of a grand conspiracy, a pawn in a game where his emotional breakdown was the scripted desired outcome. So which is it? Is Chris Marek a man with a short fuse who can't handle the pressure of reality TV? Or is he a man who was systematically backed into a corner by a production machine that values ratings over humanity? Is he hiding a secret, or is he protecting his family? The truth is likely a combination of these elements. The pressure of the farm, the probing into his life, and the need for TV drama likely created a perfect storm. The one thing we know for sure is that the image of the happy-go-lucky, easygoing Chris Marek has been shattered. Whether by his own actions or by a calculated provocation, a line was crossed. The fallout from this shoving match will undoubtedly be a major factor in the future of Little People, Big World. It could redefine relationships, end careers, and change the very fabric of the show we thought we knew. The silence from TLC and the Roloffs continues, but the story is out there now. And we will be watching, we will keep digging. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think is the real story here? Look at the evidence, the history of the show, and the personalities involved. Which theory do you believe? Or is there another angle we haven't even considered? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get a conversation started. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more exclusive reports and theories that you won't find anywhere else. Until next time, this is LPBW Update signing off.